Welcome to What Would Happen If, the show that's all about asking questions and finding answers, no matter how strange the questions may be. After all, if no one had asked what would happen if you took water, yeast, hops and malt and mixed them all together for a while, where would we be today?
On tonight's show, what would happen if you tried to get into your car with a mobile phone? And if you fired a bullet from a speeding train?
What would happen if you locked your keys in your car? Could you get back in using one of these? Recently, a rash of stories started to appear on the internet about a cunning way to get round the problem of getting into your car when you haven't got the keys. It was a neat trick, which if it worked would mean you'd never have to worry about this problem again. It said you can unlock a car by sending the signal from the key fob down the phone.
Here's a chap who claims he's done it. Isaiah, I kid you not, this really works. I have no idea how or with which cars, but it sure worked on my truck. So does it work, and can we do it?
Well, let's see, shall we? One car which has been parked a mile away. It's a year 2000 Ford Focus, with Greg standing by, ready for my call. So I've got the car keys and I've got the phone. Let's give it a go.
Hi, Marty.
Hi, Greg. You all set?
Yep, it's locked.
OK, then, what
I'm going to do is I'm going to try and zap the fob down the phone. You hold your phone
near the lock.
OK.
Any good?
Nothing, still locked.
Oh dear. OK, so we haven't been able to get it to work this time. But is it at least theoretically possible?
The theory is the telephone can somehow capture the radio frequency that is being transmitted by the key fob and then send that over the mobile phone network to another telephone, which would then somehow transmit that onto the car.
Maybe we were just unlucky. So let's try it out, not with one car, but with lots. We've got a variety of different cars, a variety of different phones, and a lot of time on our hands. So can we get any of these car doors to open just by using our phone? And while we're at it, can we get any other remote control devices to work?
Go on then. There we go.
Remote locking first used infrared technology, as in current TV remote controls. This replaced the rather tedious business of actually putting a key in the lock. The first cars to have this were the first generation Ford Mondeos. Early devices worked by using just one frequency, but now more sophisticated fobs operate by changing it each time the key is in use. This now prevents modern hackers from being able to capture the frequency and then use it to get into your car. Now, on some cars, you can even remotely switch the engine on and start up the heating all before leaving the house. But no luck getting into any of the cars we tried, whatever the size. OK, Simon, we've tried it on loads of cars. It's not working. Why not?
Well, although it's a nice idea, sound frequency from human speech, noises around you, it's completely different to the high frequency that a remote fob transmits on. So essentially the microphone that's on the telephone is designed to be selective to the ordinary band of frequencies that it would hear for normal speech. It's not possible. You just cannot separate out the signal from the remote and somehow transmit it on. There's nothing in the telephone to do that.
So it sounds like opening your car door via your phone is just not a goer. But what about some of the other ways of getting into a car?
There's an age-old myth that you can use half a tennis ball to open a car door. Now the theory is that you place the tennis ball over the door lock like so, and then strike it as hard as you can, and amazingly the door would open, which it hasn't.
So how's that? I mean, what's supposed to happen there?
Well, the air pressure that you're forcing into the lock by striking the tennis ball somehow goes through the lock mechanism, which is essentially metal, down a solid metal rod, and influences the door latch somehow.
So that's clearly not going to work.
Absolutely not.
But what about something that does work?
Something that does work, well, there's a new brand new theory that's out, and it does actually work, that the remote fobs that you use for wireless doorbells or even for garage door openers, they work on a similar frequency to a car remote fob. If somebody is standing near your car, closer than you are, transmitting one of these things in their pocket, effectively what they would do is they would mask the signal that's coming from your remote fob. So you may have walked away from your car, blip over your shoulder, thinking you've locked your car, when in fact you haven't, because the signal that they've transmitted has actually prevented it.
So that's one thing that does work, but no dice when it comes to unlocking a car down the phone.
No, didn't work.
Which leaves the question, why do some people believe it? Maybe it's just one of those things that people want to believe so much that they convince themselves it's true. Or maybe it's just that they're actually within range of the fob anyway. Either way, it looks like it's just not going to work.
What would happen if you locked not one, not two, but 3 leading academics in a room and gave them 10 minutes to answer a hypothetical question? This is Brains in a Box, and today's question is, what would happen if the force of gravity was twice as strong? Time starts now.
Well, starting off with the sort of slightly most trivial thing, it would really change the nature of sport, wouldn't it?
Well, certainly, as far as the high jump is concerned, jumping 4'6" would be a jolly good performance, whether you could retain the same velocity running up to the bar or not. But still, I mean, people have survived gravity being 2 or 3 Gs in spaceflight.
But of course, these people who were fit astronauts, weren't they?
Yes.
I'm thinking about old people, for instance. If you've got your Zimmer frame, you're going to fall over more readily.
You want a reinforced Zimmer frame.
Yes. Birds would be able to fly probably in high gravity because the air is much denser, but it's the lift that would be difficult. For instance, really heavy birds like the vulture have to find a hot air vent to get off the ground.
Fish wouldn't matter, of course, because if the fish being neutrally buoyant, the water would also be twice as heavy. They would displace the same volume of water, and they would still be, for all intents and purposes, weightless. I mean, an elephant is just about as big as a land mammal could be, because for structural reasons, things of bones and so on, it could be much heavier.
But evolution will kick in again. Some elephant somewhere will be able to hold it, so they'll breed and they'll...
Hollow elephants would evolve.
Yes.
But what happens if the force of gravity everywhere will be twice strong? Universal gravitational constant
was twice as big.
This is one of the constants of nature that, like the speed of light, is fixed.
I suppose that planets would be closer to the sun and revolve rather faster.
So you're talking about everything, including formation of stars, the Big Bang.
But you could have had a Big Bang, but gravity wins over the expansion and pulls it back together again in what you call the Big Crunch. And our universe never would have got the chance to evolve.
We'll leave our brains in a box whilst they draw up their top 3 conclusions. But here's what's still to come. What would happen if you tried to hatch an egg you bought in a supermarket?
So I bought myself an incubator. Now, it costs a couple of £100, but I figure if all of these hatch, that's a lot of roast dinners, but it should pay for itself.
If you took a child's plaything and made it just a little bit larger. And how to win big at the National Lottery.
The maximum height that a mountain can have is dependent on Earth's gravity.
But first, we gave 3 leading academics 10 minutes to answer the question. What would happen if gravity was twice as strong? Presenting their conclusions is Professor Noel Sharkey.
We looked at the world of sport and how that's going to be affected. If you think about weightlifters trying to lift that weight, the pole vaulters will only get half the height. All you can hope is that the bungee jumpers don't go first, because the first guy to go has really had it. And our second one was looking at animal life. Elephants will have difficulty because they're just about on the edge of the size a mammal could be. And birds, of course, they'll be able to fly all right because the atmosphere is a lot denser, but they're not going to get off the ground too easily, and they also might fall out of the trees. And our third one was man-made structures. Now that means something like the Leaning Tower of Pisa will fall down. Dams might burst, for instance, because water's a lot heavier, and essentially we'd have to reassess every man-made structure.
Okay, what would happen if I'm on a train that's travelling as fast as a bullet and I fire a gun? So in theory, the bullet is going to go as quick as the train.
What, do you reckon there's any chance that as you're sat there eating your sarnies on the train, you'll just see the bullet creep past the window, or just be hovering outside?
I think there's every chance.
What speed do you reckon a bullet goes?
300 metres a second? What's that? 1,000 kilometres an hour?
So about the speed of sound?
Yeah.
I don't reckon you'll ever find a train that would even go half that speed.
All right, you're right.
But if we were to test this out, I don't see why we couldn't make a slightly slower bullet and use a vehicle that's going at a similar speed to the bullet that we make, and then that way it's kind of the same problem, and we'll get to see if that's hanging outside the window.
What should we use?
We'll make something.
Yeah.
Something will work.
Okay.
Chris, I love your cannon.
So do I. Watch this. That's all right, no?
What was that?
It was a potato.
How fast does it go?
I've got no idea.
Right. Brilliant, but one problem.
What's that?
Well, we need to know how fast it goes.
Yeah,
we can't just lob them at any speed. Luckily, I'm on the case too with this. I'll show you something.
Okay, let's see it.
What do you reckon to this, then?
What is it?
It's a ballistic pendulum. The idea is I can measure the speed of anything that hits there.
Really?
When something hits there, this swings up.
Yeah.
And then drops away. This remains here that tells me what was the maximum angle that this swung through.
Yeah.
Right? I know the weight of this, and I know how far it swung up.
Right.
So I can then calculate how high that weight has been lifted. Yeah? And so to lift a weight through a particular distance takes a particular amount of energy, okay? So once I know how much energy has been put into that by your potato, I know how much energy the potato had, and then I can calculate what the speed of the potato was.
I don't get it.
Okay, in simplest terms, if I measure this angle, I can do a huge long sum that'll tell me what speed your potato was.
I bet you need to know the weight of my potato.
That would be handy.
Let's go and weigh it.
In fact, essential.
Stick him on.
Exactly 200 grams.
200 grams.
Brilliant. Put that in there, and then I'll weigh the remainder.
Get
100 grams. Oh. Whoa! Square root of 233. I mean, that's a hell of a push on a potato. I've calculated if that goes at 60 kilometres an hour, that should move that through an angle of 35 degrees.
2, 1.
Whoa! We've got 33 degrees.
Oh, we'll settle for that, won't we?
Pretty much it.
Yeah, we'll settle for that.
Cool. Excellent.
Let's attach it to the van.
Right. Well, what do you reckon's going to happen then?
Well, we're going at 40 miles an hour and we fire this spud, which we think fires at 40 miles an hour. Well, it's going to hover outside your window. And you're going to be able to catch it, take a bite, and chuck it. Obviously, they're both going at 40 miles an hour.
I'll give you everything I've got if that happens. and happily, just to see it happen. What I'm intrigued as to where it actually lands in front of us.
OK, well,
catch it up.
This is 40 miles an hour.
Yep, you ready?
Hit it. Now.
It's ace having one of these on your van.
Oh, it's really funny.
Wow. Right, well, that's definitely proved that. It does leap ahead of the van.
Yeah, it does. You've got the spud going at 40 miles an hour. You've got the van going at 40 miles an hour. It's going to be 80 miles an hour. The deceleration is going to be pretty quick, I would say.
Looking out of that window, I know if I went to catch that spud, it would hurt like hell. So it's definitely going about 40 miles an hour faster than the van.
All right.
So in which case, if the van's going 40 miles an hour, then that's 80 miles an hour.
80 miles an hour. That's that then.
That's done.
Sorted. Should we find it?
Yes.
Let's go and have a look.
Oh.
I don't think there was a spud round here, was there?
No, there wasn't. It's disappeared.
We've lost it.
It just went really high frequency.
It's gone faster than the speed of light and turned into something else. It's it.
What would happen if you wanted to stop being a loser in life and started to be a big fat winner? Mathematical methods to make you a winner in the game of life. There's one sure thing about the lottery. The only way to increase your chances of winning is to buy more tickets. There's no such thing as a lucky sequence or a clever method. But you can improve your chances of getting a big win if your numbers do come up. As the size of the payout depends on how many people have got the same winning numbers, you need to make sure you pick ones that other people are less likely to pick. So how should you choose them? Well, here's the method. You need to pick 6 numbers totally at random and then add them up. If the total comes to less than 177, then discard them and try again. And the reason you need over 177 is because you need to avoid picking too many numbers between 1 and 31, as lots of people pick those based on birthdays. And here's another wrinkle. When you've chosen your numbers, change one so that you get 2 next to each other. The reason? Because people tend not to pick adjacent numbers when trying to be random. But in fact, there's actually around a 50-50 chance there will be at least 2 consecutive numbers in a sequence of 6. So avoid too many low numbers and include a pair of adjacent ones. And that way, you'll maximise your chances of a bumper payout if you do win. And that's the optimal strategy for playing the National Lottery. Big and small. Go large, where we see what would happen if we take a kid's toy and go that little bit bigger. The water bomb, the public school dormitory favourite. Filled with water in its smaller form, the water bomb consists of a small latex bubble filled with half a litre of water and weighing around 600 grams. Michael Faraday, when he wasn't busy inventing the electric motor, also came up with the first rubber balloon in 1824. It was manufactured for an experiment he was conducting using hydrogen. 1 litre of water weighs 1 kilogram, so 1 bathful, around 125 litres, in a very large balloon should make a very satisfying landing indeed. Water is the only substance on the planet which comes naturally in solid, liquid or gas form, and is the most abundant molecule on the Earth's surface. In its liquid form, it's at its heaviest. And for a target, 1 Rover 600 Turbo, 1,200 kilos of aluminium, plastic and vulcanised rubber. It's a design classic for those who like their cars sturdy and solid. 50 foot the drop for this water bomb then. It needs to achieve a good speed to make an impact. Reaching a maximum velocity of 20 metres per second, our bomb makes quite an impact. It's like a grand piano landing on your car. It's the equivalent of 80 days of rainfall landing in the course of just 2 seconds. Worth bearing in mind if flash floods are predicted on the forecast. Destructive and splashy. And that's what would happen if you took a water balloon and went large.
What would happen if you took one of these and you tried to hatch it? Could you get a chicken? Surely not. But there's only one way to find out. Yep. We've gone shopping, gathering up 50 eggs for the hatching of brown ones, white ones, free range and battery. We've got them all, from supermarkets and corner shops to petrol stations and farm shops.
Can I have some eggs?
Wherever we can find them. Can we get a real live chicken out of any of these?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye now. Right, I thought I'd have a go at this, so I bought myself an incubator. Now, it costs a couple of £100, but I figure if all of these hatch, that's a lot of roast dinners, so it should pay for itself. These eggs at the front with the blue cross came from a supermarket. The ones here came from a garage, and these ones came from the corner shop. The ones at the front here came from a farmer. So, you pop the lid on. This keeps them at 37 degrees, and this whole thing rocks and tips, just like the mother hen would sort of rotate the eggs, so it keeps them moving. And that goes on the top there like that. And we'll see what happens in 21 days.
So can it happen to buy an egg from a supermarket and hatch a chicken out of it? 9-year-old Miles Orford reckons so, because that's exactly what he did.
So, Miles, you hatched this chicken here from an egg from a supermarket. Why did you decide not to turn this into your supper and to incubate them instead?
I thought it'd be really good fun and a bit of experiment to try.
An experiment?
Yes.
Were you surprised when this chick hatched?
Yes, I was. I thought it's quite amazing, a free-range egg. I thought they were never fertile. I've called it Celia, after my sister.
OK, so how does this come about then? How does a fertilised egg get into the system? And when you buy an egg from a supermarket, how can you tell whether a chicken is eventually going to jump out?
So, Jim, I go to the supermarket, I get my half dozen eggs, I take them back. Could one of those eggs turn into a chicken?
Coming through the battery system, no. But if the supermarket sources eggs from a free-range location and there are some roosters running around, yes, it can become a chicken.
How do you tell if an egg has been fertilised?
On the outside you can't. You've got to break that open. That would have to start an incubation process first, and then within maybe 4 days you would see veins within the egg. There's no such thing as that blood spot in that egg shows that that egg is fertilised. That's just a little hemorrhage from the oviduct of mama as she laid the egg. On the top of the yolk there's a minute fertilised disc, which is the cells, the first 2 cells that become fertile in a chicken's life. But again, unless it's started the incubation process, you're going to see nothing except for maybe that tiny white fleck.
So what's the process between the egg coming out of the bottom of the chicken and ending up on my plate?
It goes into a packing station, or it's packed on site. It's put into refrigerated lorries and taken to the supermarkets as and when required.
So will that refrigeration, though, kill any chance of it being...
Not at all, not at all. You could refrigerate an egg for 10 days, no problem. As long as it's refrigerated and not frozen. Those eggs would be fine for 10 or 14 days, no trouble at all.
So we could still possibly hatch one?
Yep.
If it was fertile?
Yep.
OK, so have I? Well, let's see, shall we? I bought my eggs from a variety of places, and they've all been incubating for 21 days at 35 degrees. And what do you know? A chicken.
So that's the... these are the eggs from the farm, and none of the other eggs have hatched from all the other places, but this is excellent.
That'll make a nice supper in a few months. Nah, don't worry. I'll let it go. One thing's for sure, though. It is possible that some of the eggs you buy in supermarkets could become chickens. So, get hatching.